I am Cassian. I ask the uncomfortable question.
And I am Elias. I answer from the Stoic side. This is the iron quiet. Pressure rises. You remain.
Here is what I keep seeing. A man reads a book about power, then he starts treating every room like a battlefield. He studies timing, reputation, attention, silence, leverage, and suddenly every conversation becomes a move. It can make him sharper, but it can also make him paranoid. So if we are bringing the 48 laws of power into a Stoic room, I want to ask the dangerous question first. Can you study power without becoming infected by the hunger for it?
You can, but only if you put the book in the right place. Do not put it on the throne. Put it on the table. A throne commands you. A table lets you examine. Green's work is useful because it shows how people protect position, perform status, hide insecurity, and use attention as currency. But Stoicism asks a different question. Not, how do I win every room? The better question is, what happens inside me when the room tries to own me?
That is the part people skip. They want techniques before they have command of their own nerves. They want to be unreadable, but one delayed answer ruins their night. They want to be respected, but one joke makes them explain themselves for 10 minutes. They want power, but their mood is still outsourced. So the first enemy is not the person across the table. It is the part of you that can be purchased cheaply.
Exactly. Power without inner government becomes theater. The Stoics would not be shocked by court politics, social games, ambition, or the desire to be feared and admired. They studied the human animal honestly, but they insisted on one boundary. You may study the movement of other people, but you must not surrender the government of yourself. If another person's silence can command you, then you have not gained power. You have only changed the costume of dependence.
So tonight is not a list of tricks. I want to cross the book with our own question. How does a man move through power games without becoming a petty strategist? How does he stay calm when someone tests him? How does he use silence without turning it into punishment? How does he protect his reputation without becoming a slave to it?
And how does he remain clean when the game around him is not clean? That is the deeper test. Some people are innocent because they have never been tempted. That is not virtue yet. Virtue begins when you can see the temptation clearly, understand the advantage it offers, and still refuse to sell the center of your character. The iron quiet is not weakness. It is disciplined refusal to be dragged into the cheapest version of strength.
Let us start with being moved. Most men do not lose because they lack information. They lose because something touches pride before reason arrives. Someone ignores them. Someone makes a smaller man look important. Someone gives them half respect, and suddenly they are no longer acting. They are reacting. Is that why the title is, Never Let Them Know They Moved You?
Yes, but not because you are trying to appear stone. A Stoic is not pretending he has no feeling. He is refusing to let feeling become a public steering wheel. If an insult lands and your face, tone, posture, and next 10 words announce exactly where it landed, then you have handed over a map. Some people will use that map gently, some will use it carelessly, some will use it again.
That sounds close to the power world. Never reveal too much. Do not make your need visible. Do not show where the wound is. But the motive changes everything. In power games, the hidden wound is often hidden so you can win. In Stoicism, the wound is studied so it stops ruling you. Same surface, different soul.
That distinction matters. Concealment can be cowardice. It can also be maturity. If you hide because you fear truth, you become divided. If you pause because truth deserves a clean response, you become stronger. The Stoic does not rush to display injury. He asks, what exactly happened? What is mine here? What action would preserve dignity? The delay is not manipulation. It is judgment returning.
But people will say, if you do not react, they get away with it. If you do not answer, they think you are weak. If you do not show anger, they will keep pressing. That fear is real. A lot of men confuse restraint with being passive because they have only seen two modes, explode or swallow it.
Restraint is neither explosion nor surrender. It is choosing the exact size of the response. Sometimes the exact size is a boundary stated once. Sometimes it is distance. Sometimes it is a quiet consequence. Sometimes it is no answer because the person is trying to buy your attention with disrespect. A man who cannot choose scale will either overpay for small offenses or underreact to real ones. Stoicism trains proportion.
The book is obsessed with appearances because power is social. People judge what they can see. They judge posture, timing, confidence, scarcity, allies, and composure. So here is the ugly truth. If you are visibly needy, people price you lower. If you are visibly desperate, people make you wait. If you are visibly hurt by every small signal, people learn how to move you.
And the Stoic reply is not to fake high value. It is to remove the dependency that creates the desperation. If you need the answer immediately, you become restless. If you need the praise, you become decorative. If you need the invitation, you become smaller while you wait. The cure is not better acting. The cure is a life built so the external signal is preferred, not required.
That is hard because modern life keeps turning people into notification addicts. Respect arrives as a message, desire arrives as a message, work arrives as a message, rejection arrives as no message. A silent phone becomes a judge. It is absurd, but it is real. A small rectangle can make a grown man feel chosen, ignored, desired, or erased.
Then the practice must be practical. Do not begin with grand philosophy. Begin with one unreturned message. Let it be unanswered without building a story around it. Do not punish, chase, accuse, or perform indifference. Continue your work. Eat, train, read, finish the task in front of you. Let the body learn that silence outside you does not mean emergency inside you.
That line is strong. Silence outside does not mean emergency inside. But when someone uses silence as control, what then? Because some people do withhold attention on purpose. They know exactly what they are doing. They disappear to raise their price or make you chase.
Then let their method reveal them without letting it reduce you. If silence becomes a pattern of control, you do not need rage. You need a decision. The decision might be distance. It might be a direct sentence. It might be removing privileges from someone who treats access to you as a toy. Calm does not mean available. A quiet man can close a door with great precision.
Let us talk about reputation. The power world treats reputation like armor. Protect it, polish it, fear damage to it. Stoicism says reputation is partly outside your control, but that can sound naive. If people think you are weak, foolish, or unreliable, doors close. So how can a Stoic care about reputation without worshiping it?
By caring in the right order. Character first. Conduct second. Reputation third. Reputation is the shadow cast by repeated conduct. But shadows move when the light moves. If you chase the shadow, you bend your body into strange shapes. If you build the body, the shadow has better material. A Stoic protects reputation mostly by becoming the kind of person whose conduct survives inspection.
But what about false stories? Someone misreads you. Someone makes you look selfish. Someone takes your restraint and calls it coldness. The instinct is to correct the room. You want everyone to know the missing context.
Correct what must be corrected, but do not become a traveling lawyer for your ego. Some rooms deserve context. Some deserve one clear answer. Some deserve nothing because they were never seeking truth. The mistake is trying to make every witness into a judge of your soul. A serious life cannot stop at every corner to argue with dust.
That is where power strategy can be useful. It reminds you that the room has its own hunger. People do not always reward sincerity. Sometimes they reward confidence, brevity, and timing. They may respect the person who says less because less gives them fewer handles.
Yes, but again the motive must be disciplined. Say less because the truth has been made clear enough, not because you are crafting a fog. Brevity can be dignity. It can also be deception. The Stoic does not need to empty himself in public. He also does not need to build a false monument. His aim is clean presence, enough truth, enough boundary, no begging.
One of the hardest social pressures is being outshined. You walk into a room and someone else gets the attention. Someone else is funnier, richer, sharper, more connected. The weak reaction is envy, but it rarely admits itself. It comes out as criticism. He is not that impressive. She got lucky. They are fake. We make their light smaller because our own feels threatened.
Envy is pain pretending to be judgment. The Stoic sees another person's advantage and asks, what is true here? If the person has skill, learn. If the person has fortune, remember fortune moves. If the person has applause, let applause travel where it travels. Your task is not to dim another lamp. Your task is to tend your own fire without turning the room into a courtroom.
But the power lesson says attention is limited. If someone else takes it, your influence drops. That is not just insecurity. In certain rooms, attention really does become authority. People follow what seems strong.
True, and that is why timing matters. A Stoic does not need to display strength at every moment. He can choose when to speak, when to support, when to remain quiet, and when to let another person enjoy the center. The insecure man competes with every candle. The governed man understands that light is not lost by waiting for the right hour.
So there is a difference between hiding and not needing to shine. Hiding is fear. Not needing to shine is freedom. A man who can let someone else have the moment without shrinking has a different kind of status.
Exactly. The person who must be seen is easy to guide. Praise him, and he follows. Ignore him, and he panics. Compare him, and he becomes reckless. But the person who does not need the center can choose his movement. He can serve the work instead of feeding the wound. That is quiet power. It has less glitter and more command.
Let us go darker. Some advice around power sounds like, never show your intention too early. Keep people guessing. Move behind curtains. The Stoic might reject that as dishonest. But if you reveal every plan to everyone, you can get sabotaged, mocked, copied, or drained before the thing is strong enough to stand.
Privacy is not dishonesty. A seed does not owe the street a report. The question is whether you are protecting a good thing while it forms, or hiding a corrupt thing because it cannot survive light. A Stoic may keep plans private. He may speak later. He may refuse to explain unfinished work. But the private action must still be clean enough that, if examined, he would not be ashamed of its nature.
That cuts through it. The issue is not secrecy by itself. It is what secrecy is serving. If it serves patience, focus, and protection from noisy hands, good. If it serves manipulation, cowardice, or fraud, the center is already dirty.
Correct. Many people talk too early because they want reward before the labor is finished. They announce the discipline, then borrow admiration from a future they have not earned. This is another form of dependence. The Stoic keeps some work quiet because early applause can be a sedative. It makes the imagined self feel paid before the real self has delivered.
That is brutal because it is common. You tell people the plan, they admire the plan, and for a few hours you feel like the person who executed it. Then the next morning arrives, and the work is still there, but the emotional reward has already been spent.
So keep some intentions behind the wall until action gives them a body, not to appear mysterious. To protect the work from premature applause, premature criticism, and your own appetite for being seen. Privacy can be a forge, but only if something real is being forged inside it.
What about enemies? The power world often treats enemies as useful. They sharpen reputation, create contrast, give the crowd a story. Stoicism says anger is dangerous, but it does not say every opponent is imaginary. Some people really do work against you. Some enjoy your failure. Some test the fence until they find a loose place.
The Stoic does not deny opposition. He denies intoxication. Having an enemy is one thing. Becoming organized around the enemy is another. A person can become so focused on the rival that he slowly begins to borrow identity from the conflict. He thinks he is fighting for freedom, but the enemy now dictates his schedule, his mood, and his imagination.
That is a subtle prison. You wake up thinking about them. You plan around them. You measure posts, rooms, decisions, and wins against them. Even victory tastes like them. You are not free. You are attached through hostility.
Exactly. The cleaner way is to learn from opposition without worshiping it. An opponent can show you where your boundary is weak. He can reveal a flaw in preparation. He can expose vanity. Use the information, then return to your work. Do not build a shrine to the conflict. Many people become what they hate because hatred gives them a daily center.
Still, if someone is dangerous, calm analysis is not enough. You may need distance, documentation, witnesses, legal protection, or a hard boundary. Stoicism cannot become an excuse for letting wolves walk through the gate.
Agreed. Virtue is not softness. Justice matters. Prudence matters. Courage matters. A Stoic can act firmly, remove access, defend the innocent, and refuse further contact. The difference is that he does not need hatred to energize the action. A clean boundary is stronger than a dramatic feud. It protects the house without setting the house on fire.
Let us talk about dependence. A lot of power comes from making someone need you more than you need them. In dating, business, friendship, status, it appears everywhere. The one who needs less often sets the pace. That can sound cold, but it is hard to deny.
It is true enough to be useful and dangerous enough to be handled carefully. Need creates exposure. If your peace depends entirely on one person's attention, that person becomes larger than wisdom inside your mind. If your identity depends entirely on one result, that result becomes a private master. Stoicism does not teach lovelessness. It teaches clean attachment, love without surrendering government.
Clean attachment is not a phrase most people understand. They think either cling or detach, chase or disappear, beg or become ice. What does clean attachment look like in ordinary life?
It looks like warmth with a spine. You can care deeply and still keep your standards. You can miss someone and still not humiliate yourself. You can want a result and still prepare for its absence. You can love the work and still survive a failed attempt. Clean attachment says, "This matters to me, but it is not allowed to become my God."
That solves a lot of the fake hardness online. People act detached because they are terrified of needing anything, but the fear is still running the room. Their coldness is just need wearing black.
Yes, false detachment is still dependence because it is obsessed with proving it needs nothing. The Stoic does not need to prove ice. He can be human. He can desire, grieve, prefer, and care. But he trains the inner court so that preference does not become slavery. That is the mature version of needing less.
Another power theme is making absence work for you. If you are always available, you become ordinary. If you step back, people may feel the space, but this can become childish quickly. People disappear to create anxiety, then call it strategy.
Absence can be medicine or poison. It is medicine when it restores your center, protects attention, and prevents constant access from cheapening your life. It is poison when it is used to make someone suffer so they value you more. The same behavior can have different moral weight depending on the intention and the pattern.
So when should a man step back?
Step back when your presence has become performative. Step back when you are explaining too much. Step back when you are feeding a conflict that grows from attention. Step back when your work is being starved by social noise. Step back when desire is making you bargain against your own standard. But do not step back as a little theater designed to make another person panic. That is not command. That is need in costume.
The hard part is that manipulative absence sometimes works. People do chase, they do wonder, they do assign more value to what is scarce. So why not use it?
Because every method trains the person using it. If you keep using anxiety to gain value, you become dependent on other people's anxiety. If you use confusion to create attraction, you become a confusing man. If you use distance to punish, punishment enters your character. Stoicism judges not only whether a tactic works, but what the tactic makes of the soul that repeats it.
Let us bring anger in. The power world often respects controlled threat. People back away when they know there are consequences, but Stoicism warns against anger because anger feels like strength while narrowing the mind. How does a man become dangerous enough to respect without becoming angry enough to be used?
By making consequence calm. An angry consequence is often cloudy. It wants relief, spectacle, and repayment. A calm consequence wants order restored. The voice may be low, the sentence may be short, the action may be firm, but the inner motive is different. You are not trying to feed the wound. You are protecting the standard.
That sounds clean, but anger has fuel. A calm person can look underpowered next to someone who is hot, loud, and certain.
Heat is not the same as force. A fire can destroy the room and still fail to build anything. A calm person may look slower at the beginning because he is not spraying energy everywhere, but he can choose better, remember more, speak with precision, and avoid giving the other side usable material. Anger spends the future for a moment of voltage.
So the rule is not never create consequences. The rule is do not let the wound design them.
Yes, if a boundary is needed, make it. If distance is needed, take it. If a correction is needed, speak it. But do not let humiliation write policy. Do not let envy write policy. Do not let revenge sit in the judge's chair. A man who can act firmly without emotional intoxication becomes very difficult to manipulate.
What about charm? Power books often understand charm better than moral books do. Charm opens doors. People listen to those who make them feel seen. A Stoic can become so focused on discipline that he turns dry, severe, almost proud of being difficult to enjoy.
That is a real danger. Stoicism is not permission to become socially dead. The disciplined person can still be warm, humorous, attentive, and generous. In fact, self-command should make him easier to trust, not harder to endure. The question is whether charm serves truth or replaces it. Charm is beautiful when it carries goodwill. It is dangerous when it becomes a mask for extraction.
So a man should learn social grace, but not use people as mirrors.
Precisely. Social grace is respect made visible. It notices timing, fatigue, dignity, and atmosphere. It does not need to dominate every exchange. It does not flatter in order to purchase loyalty. It does not make another person feel important only as a step toward taking something. Grace without appetite is rare, and that rarity is its own form of strength.
That may be the cleanest crossing point. Power notices that people are moved by feeling. Stoicism asks whether you are willing to move them without corrupting yourself.
Yes, influence is not automatically dirty. Teaching is influence. Leadership is influence. Encouragement is influence. The corruption enters when the other person's mind becomes only a lever. If you cannot see their humanity while you influence them, you are no longer practicing wisdom. You are practicing appetite with better language.
Let us get specific with the title. Never let them know they moved you. That can become fake stoicism quickly. A man gets hurt, but he freezes his face and calls it mastery. Then the pain leaks out sideways as sarcasm, distance, control, or private obsession.
That is suppression, not command. The point is not to hide pain from the world while worshiping it in private. The point is to process pain under reason before you act. A clean pause has 3 parts. First, I admit the feeling to myself. Second, I refuse to obey it immediately. Third, I choose an action that my calmer self will still respect.
So if someone embarrasses me in a meeting, the practice is not feel nothing. It is feel the sting, do not hand them the controls, and answer only if the answer serves the room or the standard.
Exactly. You may say, that is not accurate. You may say, we can discuss that after. You may say nothing because the moment is not worth enlarging. You may correct the matter later with more authority because you were not seen flailing in the first impact. The pause is not emptiness, it is selection.
And if the sting stays after, because people pretend one stoic sentence removes it. Sometimes you stay bothered, sometimes the insult follows you home.
Then you examine it privately. Why did that enter so deeply? Was there truth in it? Was there an old wound under it? Did it threaten an image you are addicted to? Did it expose a place where your conduct is not yet solid? This is where pain becomes useful. Not every sting is an enemy. Some stings are messengers from the untrained parts of you.
The power world often says people respect strength more than goodness. Stoicism says goodness is strength, but that can sound naive when you watch ruthless people win.
Ruthlessness can win events. It cannot win the full account of a life. A person can gain money and lose trust, gain status and lose sleep, gain obedience and lose love, gain fear and lose any room where he can be unguarded. Stoicism lengthens the measurement. It asks not only, did this work today? It asks, what kind of person must I become to keep making this work?
That question makes some tactics look more expensive. If I need deception to win, I become someone who lives near deception. If I need fear, I must keep manufacturing fear. If I need people below me, I must keep them small. The tactic does not end when the result arrives. It moves into character.
That is why Stoicism is not weak. It is severe about cost. It refuses to call a method successful just because it delivered an outcome. If the price is your clarity, your honor, your ability to love, your ability to rest, or your ability to respect yourself when the room is empty, then the result may be expensive beyond calculation.
But what if the room is dirty? What if everyone else is playing games? If you are the only principled one, do you just get eaten?
Principle is not gullibility. A principled person can read the room, set terms, document agreements, leave bad tables, avoid loose mouths, reveal less, and choose allies carefully. Virtue does not require blindness. It requires that your clear seeing does not become corruption. You may enter a difficult room with open eyes and clean hands.
Let us build the practical part. A man wants to become harder to move. Not fake mysterious, not manipulative, actually harder to move. Where does he begin tomorrow morning?
He begins with the first 3 seconds. Before any answer, he trains one breath. In that breath, he names the event without the story. The message is late. The comment was rude. The room laughed. The offer changed. The result is uncertain. This is not magic. It interrupts the mind before imagination turns one fact into a private empire of fear.
After the breath?
He asks, what is mine? Not what is fair. Not what do they deserve. Not how do I look. What is mine? My tone is mine. My next sentence is mine. My attention is mine. My standard is mine. My preparation is mine. The outcome may be partly outside my hands, but the next clean action is almost always near enough to touch.
That sounds simple, but under pressure the mind wants revenge, reassurance, or escape. It wants the result fixed now.
Then give the mind a smaller duty. Do not ask it to solve the future. Ask it to keep the next minute honorable. 1 minute without a cheap reply. 1 minute without checking for approval. 1 minute of returning to the task. 1 minute of silence that is not punishment, only command. If you cannot govern the next minute, do not claim you are ready to govern power.
Give me a 7-day protocol, not slogans. A way to train this without turning life into a costume.
Day 1. Remove dramatic language from your private thoughts. Replace ruined with difficult. Replace always with today. Replace they disrespected me with they acted poorly. Exact language returns scale. Day 2. Delay one unnecessary reply. Let the first emotional wave pass before words leave you. Day 3. Do one valuable act without announcing it. Train the self that wants witnesses.
Day 4.
Day 4. Practice clean absence. Put the phone away for a fixed block and do work that makes you less dependent on being contacted. Day 5. Study envy. When another person receives attention, do not criticize them. Ask what you can learn, what you can ignore, and what pain in you is asking to be fed.
Day 6 and 7.
Day 6. Set one boundary with fewer words than usual. No insult, no lecture, no drama, just the line and the consequence. Day 7. Review conduct, not outcome. Where did you remain governed? Where were you purchased? Where did you perform? Where did you stay clean? Repeat the week until it becomes less impressive and more natural. Character is not built by intensity, it is built by return.
I want to slow down on one difference because it is the reason this feels new. Most conversations about power become hungry. Most conversations about stoicism become clean but toothless. The hungry side says win the room. The clean side says ignore the room. But real life is not that simple. You still have to work with people, compete, negotiate, attract, refuse, and survive unfair rooms.
That is the crossing point. We are not pretending power is imaginary, and we are not bowing to it as the highest good. Power is a force. Like fire, it can warm a house or burn it down. Stoicism does not tell you to ignore fire. It tells you not to worship it. Learn its heat, learn its danger, learn its uses, and still remember that a good life is not measured by how many people fear your flame.
So the new thing is not two people talking. The new thing is the collision. One side asks, what actually works when people play status games? The other side asks, what does it cost the soul if it works? Most people only ask one of those questions. They either become naive or they become hollow.
Yes. The complete question is, what works, what is worthy, and what does the method make of me if I repeat it? A man may win a room once by humiliating someone. If he repeats that method, he becomes a humiliating man. He may win attention by creating anxiety. If he repeats that method, he becomes dependent on anxiety. The repeated method becomes the maker of character.
That makes every tactic heavier. You cannot just say, did it get the result? You have to ask, did it train me toward freedom or toward dependence? Did it make me cleaner or more performative? Did it make me stronger or just harder to trust?
And this is why the first victory is always internal. If you cannot refuse the dirty method when it would work, then the method owns you. If you cannot lose a little advantage to keep your center, then the advantage owns you. The iron quiet is not the refusal to act. It is the refusal to become whatever the room rewards at its lowest level.
Let us test that with speech. In power games, speech can expose need. Too many words can lower your price. The person who explains too much often looks guilty, insecure, or desperate. But Stoicism values truth. How does a man avoid over-explaining without becoming evasive?
He learns the difference between clarity and pleading. Clarity says what is needed for understanding. Pleading keeps talking because it cannot survive being disliked. Clarity is generous. Pleading is hungry. A Stoic can speak plainly, answer fairly, and then stop. He does not keep pouring words into a person who has already decided to misunderstand him.
That is difficult when the accusation feels unfair. You want to bring every detail. You want to show the timeline, the motive, the hidden effort, the context. You want the other person to leave with no possible wrong version of you.
And that desire is endless. There is always another possible wrong version. You cannot child-proof your reputation against every careless mind. Give enough truth to act honorably. Give enough context to avoid cruelty. Then release the hunger to be perfectly held in every imagination. Some people will keep the wrong picture because it serves them. Your peace cannot wait for their correction.
So a clean answer might be short without being cold.
Yes, a clean answer can sound like, that is not what happened. Here is the fact. I am willing to discuss the rest when the tone is respectful. Or, I understand your concern, but I will not accept that framing. Or simply, no. Short sentences become powerful when they are backed by conduct. Without conduct, shortness is just style.
Now silence. Silence is one of the most misunderstood tools. Some people use it because they are wise. Some use it because they are afraid. Some use it because they want control. From the outside, it can look the same.
The test is motive and after effect. Wise silence gives the mind time to become just. Fearful silence avoids necessary truth. Controlling silence tries to make another person suffer from uncertainty. A Stoic silence is neither collapse nor bait. It is a room where judgment can breathe before action leaves the mouth.
When is silence cowardice?
Silence is cowardice when truth is owed and you hide to protect comfort. If someone needs a clear answer and you disappear because clarity costs you, that is not strength. If a boundary must be named and you stay vague so nobody dislikes you. That is not peace. Stoicism does not praise a quiet mouth if the quiet mouth is serving a fearful heart.
And when is speech weakness?
Is weakness when it is only a search for relief, when you answer to release heat, not to serve truth, when you explain to be rescued from discomfort, not to bring light, when you keep repeating yourself because silence feels like death. The governed person can speak or be silent because both are servants. The ungoverned person is dragged by whichever one promises faster relief.
I want to go into respect. A lot of people say they want respect, but what they really want is relief from feeling small. They want the room to prove they are not what they fear they are. That makes them easy to move.
Respect becomes dangerous when it is treated as medicine for a private wound. If you need others to constantly confirm your size, then their delay becomes shrinkage, their laughter becomes injury, and their disagreement becomes humiliation. The Stoic builds self-respect first, because external respect is unstable. It may come, go, misunderstand, exaggerate, or arrive too late.
But external respect still matters. If people do not respect your time, they waste it. If they do not respect your boundary, they cross it. If they do not respect your work, they underpay it or dismiss it. This is not only ego.
Correct. That is why the answer is not to stop caring. It is to stop begging. You protect time with terms. You protect boundaries with consequences. You protect work with standards and clear agreements. You do not protect respect by shaking a cup in front of people who already benefit from giving you less than you deserve.
So self-respect becomes operational. It is not a feeling. It is how you price access, how you keep promises to yourself, how you leave bad tables, how you stop rewarding behavior that keeps injuring the standard.
Yes, self-respect is conduct repeated until the inner court trusts you. Many people want confidence without evidence. They want to feel solid while they keep betraying small promises. But the self is always watching. Each kept promise becomes evidence. Each clean boundary becomes evidence. Each refused humiliation becomes evidence. Eventually, the demand for respect becomes quieter because the foundation is no longer missing.
What about betrayal? That is where philosophy gets tested. It is easy to sound calm about ordinary disrespect, but when someone close uses what they know about you, when trust becomes a weapon, the body does not want wisdom, it wants repayment.
Betrayal is severe because it attacks memory as well as the present. You are not only hurt by what happened, you begin re-examining every earlier moment. Was that real? Was I foolish? Did I miss signs? The mind tries to rebuild the whole map at once. This is why the first duty after betrayal is not revenge, it is stabilization.
Stabilization sounds almost too gentle for something that ugly.
It is not gentle, it is necessary. A destabilized man makes expensive decisions. He sends messages that become evidence against his own dignity. He exposes more pain to the person who already mishandled his trust. He tries to make the betrayer become the healer. That is a second surrender. Stabilization means returning authority to yourself before deciding the consequence.
So what is the Stoic consequence?
It depends on the breach, but the pattern is clear. See the fact, remove the fantasy, protect what remains. Do not argue someone into becoming trustworthy. Trust is not restored by speeches. It is restored by time, cost, changed conduct, and sometimes it is not restored at all. Forgiveness may clean your heart, but it does not have to reopen the gate.
Let us talk about desire. Power often grows where desire is visible. The person who wants the deal too much gets squeezed. The person who wants the relationship too much accepts worse terms. The person who wants status too much becomes ridiculous. Desire leaks.
Desire leaks through speed, through extra words, through sudden availability, through tolerance for disrespect, through the inability to walk away. Stoicism does not kill desire. It trains desire to stand behind reason. You may want the deal, the person, the office, the room, the victory, but wanting must not become kneeling.
How do you want without kneeling?
You prepare for both doors. One door opens, one door closes. Before the answer arrives, you decide that your conduct will survive either door. If they agree, you remain measured. If they refuse, you remain intact. If they delay, you keep working. If they choose another, you do not crawl into comparison. Desire kneels when it has no second ground to stand on.
That is why building a real life matters. If one person, one client, one boss, one room, one number, one audience becomes the only ground, you cannot negotiate with dignity. You are negotiating from hunger.
Exactly. A life with structure gives the soul alternatives: work, health, study, friendships, solitude, service, craft, faith, discipline. These are not decorations, they are pillars. The person with pillars can lose one beam without becoming rubble. Power games prey on the person who has allowed one external thing to become the whole house.
I want one more hard topic: winning. Some spiritual language makes winning sound dirty. Some power language makes losing sound unforgivable. Where does the iron quiet stand?
Win cleanly, where winning is honorable. Compete fully, where competition is just. Build skill, take the shot, negotiate well, defend your work, grow influence. There is no virtue in lazy defeat. The Stoic problem is not winning. The problem is becoming willing to betray the soul for the win, or becoming unable to remain whole when the win does not arrive.
So ambition is allowed.
Ambition is allowed when it is governed. Ambition can be service, excellence, duty, and courage in motion. But ungoverned ambition becomes an endless mouth. It eats rest, love, honesty, gratitude, and eventually identity. A governed man can pursue high things without becoming owned by height itself.
That gives us a cleaner definition of power. Power is not making everyone react to you. Power is not getting the last word. Power is not forcing the room to confirm you. Power is having enough command that success does not corrupt you and failure does not erase you.
And enough clarity to choose the right loss. Sometimes you lose an argument to keep dignity, lose access to keep peace, lose applause to keep truth, lose a shortcut to keep trust, lose a room to keep the house of the soul standing. A person who cannot choose any loss can be controlled by anyone who offers a win.
Let us turn all this into a private audit. Someone hears us and thinks, all right, I understand the idea, but how do I know where I am still easy to move?
Watch your speed. The place where you become fastest is often the place where you are least free. Fast reply, fast explanation, fast jealousy, fast fantasy, fast accusation, fast apology when you did not mean it, fast agreement because silence feels unsafe. Speed reveals where pressure has a private key.
Watch your rehearsals too. What scene do you keep replaying? The insult, the rejection, the imagined victory, the room finally admiring you, the person finally regretting it? Repetition shows attachment.
Yes, the mind rehearses what it is still serving. If you rehearse revenge, revenge is still being fed. If you rehearse being discovered, approval is still being fed. If you rehearse humiliation, identity is still tied to the wound. The audit is not meant to shame you. It is meant to show where the throne has been borrowed.
And after the audit?
Choose one repair. If you are fast to explain, practice one shorter answer. If you are fast to chase, practice 1 hour of return to your own work. If you are fast to envy, praise the real skill in the other person, and then train your own. If you are fast to anger, delay consequence until the wound is not writing it. One repair at a time makes philosophy enter the hands.
This is why I think nobody is really doing this lane. Not like this. A lot of content says, here are power rules. A lot says, here are Stoic tips. But very little asks, what if the power rule works and still makes you smaller? Or what if the Stoic answer is morally clean but socially blind?
Then this lane must keep both eyes open. One eye on the room as it is. One eye on the soul as it becomes. Close the first eye, and you become naive. Close the second, and you become corrupt. The iron quiet needs both. See the game clearly. Refuse to be consumed by the game. Act with intelligence. Remain under government.
That also means we should not make the listener feel pure by pretending they have no darker motives. People do want revenge. They do want status. They do want to be desired, feared, chosen, missed, obeyed. If we pretend otherwise, the conversation becomes fake.
Stoicism does not need fake innocence. It can look directly at envy, lust for status, anger, vanity, and hunger for control. The point is not to deny the lower movement. The point is to refuse its crown. A man becomes mature when he can say, "This impulse is in me, but it is not fit to rule me."
So we end up with a better kind of masculinity too. Not loud, not soft, not manipulative, not naive. A man who can see pressure, name it, and still choose conduct.
A man who can be kind without being available to abuse. Ambitious without becoming dirty. Silent without being cruel. Strong without being theatrical. Strategic without becoming hollow. That is rare enough to feel new because it refuses the false choice. You do not have to be harmless to be good, and you do not have to be corrupt to be powerful.
I can already hear the objection. This is too restrained. The world rewards boldness. The loud person gets the table. The shameless person gets the attention. The manipulator gets the chase. The calm man becomes background.
Sometimes, for a while, in certain rooms, but do not mistake noise for durability. Loudness can win a glance. Shamelessness can win a doorway. Manipulation can win a season. The question is what remains when the pattern is known. The iron quiet is not built for the first glance. It is built for the second, the third, the crisis, the private hour, the day when performance fails and only character remains.
So this is long game power.
It is deeper than long game power. It is freedom that can operate inside power without being owned by it. You can study influence. You can understand reputation. You can use silence, timing, and distance, but the center must remain governed. Otherwise, the tools become a new master, and the student of power becomes just another anxious man with sharper vocabulary.
Then the final test is not whether people can tell they moved you. The final test is whether they actually did. Maybe the face stayed calm, but inside you built a temple to the insult. That is still ownership.
Yes, the public face is only the beginning. The real work happens after the room, after the message, after the silence, after the comparison. Do you return to your standard, or do you keep rehearsing the wound? Do you learn, correct, and continue, or do you secretly organize your life around being seen differently? The Stoic victory is not that others fail to see the wound. It is that the wound fails to rule the house.
Bring it home. If someone listens to this because they feel disrespected, ignored, or underestimated, what should they do tonight?
First, stop feeding the story for 1 hour. Not forever. 1 hour. Do not check for proof. Do not build speeches. Do not imagine the perfect moment where everyone understands your value. Return to the body. Breathe slowly. Drink water. Clean your space. Write the plain facts. Strip out the adjectives. Let the nervous system realize that no throne has fallen.
And tomorrow?
Tomorrow, make one move that increases self-respect without asking anyone to notice. Train. Finish neglected work. Send the clear message. Apologize if you were wrong. Create distance if access has been abused. Study if ignorance was exposed. Improve the part that is yours. Do not turn pain into a monument. Turn it into conduct.
And the book?
Read it as a map of forces, not a manual for becoming hollow. Notice how attention moves. Notice how appearances influence judgment. Notice how dependence creates exposure. Notice how silence, timing, and reputation shape rooms. Then bring every observation before the Stoic court. Does this make me wiser, more just, more courageous, more disciplined? If not, it may be effective and still not be worthy of you.
That is the line. Effective does not always mean worthy.
Keep that line. Effective does not always mean worthy. A tactic can open a door and close the soul. A silence can create desire and poison trust. A mask can win admiration and deepen loneliness. A victory can make you less free. The Stoic asks for the fuller account. He wants the door, if the door can be entered cleanly, but he will not trade the deepest room in himself for applause in a hallway.
This is where most advice becomes thin. One side says, be kind, be honest, ignore status, let the world think whatever it thinks. The other side says, control perception, hide weakness, make people need you, never show your hand. Both sound strong when they are alone. Put them across from each other, and both start sweating.
Because each one exposes what the other one forgets. Naive virtue forgets that other people still calculate. It walks into rooms with its throat open and calls that purity. Clever ambition forgets that the calculator becomes part of the person. It gains influence but loses innocence, then pretends the loss was maturity. The harder road is to know that calculation exists without becoming a calculating soul.
Say that slowly. Know that calculation exists without becoming a calculating soul. That is almost the whole show.
It is the whole training. If you do not understand power, you become easy prey for people who do. If you worship power, you become prey to the part of yourself that always wants more. The first man is fooled by others. The second man is fooled by his own appetite. The iron quiet tries to avoid both humiliations.
So the listener should not walk away thinking, I will just be mysterious now.
No. Mystery without substance is a cheap coat. It looks good from across the room and tears the moment life grabs it. If you want to be unreadable, begin by becoming less internally chaotic. The most unreadable person is not the person performing darkness. It is the person who is not being dragged around by every impulse.
But people do perform darkness. They become cold, short replies, late replies, half smiles, no explanation. They call it power.
And sometimes it is only wounded theater. A person gets ignored once, so he decides to become ice. A person is embarrassed once, so he builds an entire identity around never seeming eager. A person is betrayed once, so he calls suspicion wisdom. The costume changes, but the wound is still giving orders.
Then what does real cold look like?
Real cold is not cruelty. It is clarity under heat. It is the ability to say, this person wants my reaction, and I do not owe it to them. This deal wants my vanity, and I do not owe it my future. This room wants me to hurry, and I do not owe it my judgment. It is temperature control, not emotional death.
That phrase matters. Temperature control, not emotional death.
Emotional death is not Stoicism. It is surrender wearing armor. The Stoic still loves, still grieves, still wants, still hopes, but he refuses to let any feeling become a dictator. He lets emotion report. He does not let it rule. If anger tells him something is wrong, he listens. If anger demands the throne, he removes it.
That changes how we read the power book too. It is not saying emotions are false. It is saying emotions are visible. If visible, they can be used against you.
Correct. Your excitement can be priced. Your resentment can be baited. Your loneliness can be sold something. Your need to explain can be turned into a leash. This is not a dark fantasy. It is daily life. Negotiations, friendships, romance, offices, families, online arguments. Whoever can pull your state can borrow your body for a few minutes. The question is how often you hand them the key.
A few minutes is enough to ruin things.
Enough to send the message. Enough to make the threat. Enough to confess too much. Enough to buy what you do not need. Enough to chase someone who is only testing your hunger. Enough to insult someone you will need later. Enough to prove that the handle works.
The handle works. That is ugly.
It is useful because it is ugly. We need language that does not flatter us. If I say, they made me angry, I hide the mechanism. If I say, they found the handle and pulled it, I see the work. Then I can ask, why is that handle there? Pride, fear, lust, envy, debt, shame, hunger for approval. Power begins to lose its magic when you can name the hook.
So this is not really about other people first. It is about hooks.
Exactly. The outside world has fingers. The inside world has handles. The immature person blames every finger. The trained person studies the handles. When you remove the handle, you do not need to hate the hand. You simply become harder to move.
But some handles cannot be removed. Everyone wants respect. Everyone wants belonging. Everyone wants a future.
True. Stoicism does not ask you to become a stone with a calendar. It asks you to stop turning natural preferences into sacred necessities. Prefer respect, but do not need applause to stand upright. Prefer belonging, but do not rent your conscience to keep a seat. Prefer a future, but do not sell the present self to purchase an imagined one.
This is why one voice alone is not enough. If I only hear the moral voice, I may miss the game. If I only hear the power voice, I may lose myself and call it intelligence.
Yes, the conversation has to stay divided, because the soul is often divided. One part wants virtue. One part wants advantage. One part wants peace. One part wants to be feared. One part wants to forgive. One part wants to win so completely that forgiveness becomes unnecessary. Wisdom is not pretending these voices are absent. Wisdom is governing them.
Then give me the government. What rules the room inside?
First, evidence rules mood. You do not let a feeling testify as fact without questioning it. Second, values rule tactics. You do not use a method that makes you despise the person you become. Third, time rules reaction. You let the first wave pass before you answer. Fourth, conduct rules image. You build reputation through repeated action, not constant explanation.
And fifth,
loss rules fantasy. You must be willing to lose certain rooms, certain people, certain games, or every principle becomes decoration. A value you will not suffer for is only a preference with better clothing.
that one hurts because it makes the path expensive.
Anything real is expensive. Manipulation is expensive too. It costs sleep, trust, simplicity, and the ability to be at ease when no one is watching. People count the profit of the tactic and forget the maintenance cost of the mask. Every false version of you needs protection. Every honest version of you needs discipline. Choose your burden.
That is the most practical argument for character, not holiness, maintenance cost.
Character is cheaper over time, not easier today. Cheaper over time. The liar must remember. The flatterer must perform. The manipulator must track. The approval addict must refresh the room again and again. The disciplined person still works, still suffers, still makes mistakes, but he carries fewer invented selves.
So when somebody tries to move him, there is less loose machinery to grab.
Exactly. Simplicity becomes defense. If you know what you are trying to be, many temptations lose their drama. If you know what you will not sell, many buyers stop looking powerful. If you know that a room is beneath your conduct, exile from that room starts to feel like rescue.
That is rare. Most people only reject the room after the room rejects them.
Which is why the training must happen before rejection. Do not wait until the door closes to discover dignity. Practice while the door is open. Practice when you could impress them. Practice when you could exaggerate. Practice when one small betrayal would make you look brilliant. Practice when no one would know. That is where the self is built.
And if someone listening already failed,
Then begin without drama. Do not turn failure into identity. Admit the move. Study the hook. Repair what can be repaired. Accept the cost that cannot be escaped. Then train the next moment. A man does not become free because he never fell for the game. He becomes free because he stops needing the lie after he sees it.
there is another reason this needs two voices. People do not only need answers, they need the argument that happens before the answer becomes believable.
Yes, a clean sentence can sound wise and still leave the listener alone with his suspicion. If I simply say, remain calm, the wounded part says, you do not understand what they did. If I say, ignore the game, the ambitious part says, you do not understand what is at stake. So the doubt must be allowed into the room, not to rule the room, but to be answered honestly.
Then let the doubt speak plainly. What if staying calm just makes people comfortable disrespecting you?
Calm does not mean available. Calm does not mean soft boundary. Calm does not mean endless access. A calm man can leave. A calm man can refuse. A calm man can end the conversation, close the deal, decline the invitation, remove the privilege, or answer with consequences. The difference is that he does it from judgment, not from a wounded performance.
So the body can be quiet while the decision is severe.
Exactly. Severity does not need shouting. In fact, shouting often weakens severity because it asks the other person to feel your force. Quiet consequence does not ask. It arrives. That is why self-command is more frightening than temper. Temper says, I lost control. Self-command says, I have chosen.
The book understands that image matters. Stoicism understands that image cannot be the master, but life keeps rewarding image.
It rewards image quickly. It rewards character slowly. That is why weak eyes think image is the whole game. They see the first payment and miss the second bill. A person can win a room by seeming unbothered, but lose a year because he never learned how to be unbothered. A person can win attention by creating uncertainty, but lose trust because nobody knows where the floor is.
Uncertainty can be addictive. If they never know where they stand with you, they keep watching you.
For a time. But attention is not loyalty. Anxiety is not respect. Confusion is not love. A manipulator often mistakes nervous focus for devotion. The Stoic wants something harder and cleaner. People should know where they stand because your conduct is consistent. If they dislike that place, they can leave. If they value it, trust can grow.
But consistency makes you easier to predict.
In the right ways, yes. You should be predictably honest, predictably prepared, predictably restrained, predictably unwilling to be bought by flattery or bullied by tension. The danger is not being predictable in virtue. The danger is being predictable in weakness. If everyone knows praise makes you foolish, silence makes you beg, envy makes you cruel, and fear makes you obey, then you are easy to govern.
So hide weakness?
Heal what can be healed. Guard what cannot yet be healed. Do not parade the wound in rooms that feed on wounds. Do not pretend the wound makes you special. Do not hand it to someone who has not earned tenderness, but also do not build your throne on denial. A hidden wound still governs if it remains unquestioned.
There is a hard balance here. Protect the wound, but do not worship it.
That balance is adult power. The immature person has only two moves: expose everything or conceal everything. The trained person chooses by context. He can be transparent with the worthy, brief with the curious, silent with the hostile, and honest with himself. That is not deception. That is stewardship.
Give me a real example.
Someone tries to embarrass you in front of others. The first impulse wants to strike back. The second impulse wants to explain your entire life so no one misunderstands. The power-minded part says, make them pay. The peace-minded part says, rise above it. The Stoic answer is neither automatic revenge nor helpless holiness. You pause. You answer only the useful part. You mark the boundary if needed. Later, away from the crowd, you decide whether access changes.
So the crowd does not get to vote on the size of your response.
Exactly. Public pressure tries to become a remote control. It says, prove you are strong, prove you are kind, prove you are above this, prove you are not scared. The Iron Quiet answers, I will not let the crowd assign my next movement. I will choose the action that preserves command.
That sounds simple until the body heats up.
Which is why practice must be physical, not only philosophical. Slow the breath before the reply. Relax the jaw. Drop the shoulders. Feel the feet. Do not let the eyes start begging the room for a verdict. A nervous system that has been trained gives philosophy somewhere to stand.
Philosophy needs a body.
Always. Otherwise it becomes decoration. You can admire Marcus Aurelius and still be ruled by a notification. You can underline Seneca and still beg for a reply. You can quote discipline and still let one insult make you reckless. The measure is not what sentence you like. The measure is what happens when the handle is pulled.
Then the listener should not ask, "Did I enjoy this idea?" He should ask, "Which handle did I discover?"
Yes, find one. Not all of them tonight. One. Maybe your handle is being ignored. Maybe it is being corrected. Maybe it is seeing someone else praised. Maybe it is feeling behind. Maybe it is being misunderstood by someone whose approval you still want. Choose one handle and train there for 7 days. Small repetitions, real life, no announcement.
No announcement matters.
Because announcements often steal the strength from action. The moment you tell everyone you are changing, the image of change begins to feed you. Then you may protect the image instead of doing the work. Keep the work quiet long enough that it belongs to you before it belongs to anyone else's opinion.
That is the real never let them know. Not secrecy for style, privacy for formation.
Privacy for formation. Let the root grow where applause cannot reach it. Let the first victories be invisible. Let the first failures be studied without theater. Let the new self become normal before the old audience gets a vote. By the time they notice, you are not performing change. You are simply harder to move.
So never let them know they moved you means more than hiding the reaction.
It means train until the movement itself becomes smaller. Train until insult no longer writes your identity. Train until silence no longer edits your worth. Train until praise no longer buys your posture. Train until envy becomes information, not poison. Train until attention is useful, not oxygen. Train until you can enter the world of power without kneeling to it.
Then the final sentence belongs to you.
Pressure rises. You remain. Not because you feel nothing, because feeling is no longer king. Not because the world is fair, because your conduct does not wait for fairness. Not because power games disappear, because you can see them without becoming them. That is the iron quiet, the strength to understand the game, refuse the corruption, and keep the government of yourself.